Never has there been a president, with few exceptions, in the case of FDR, he had a major depression to handle, who's passed more legislation, who's done more things than what we've done.
I am signing away. I've signed 29 new bills, a record not surpassed since the Truman administration.
We've signed more bills, and I'm talking about through the legislature, than any president ever. For a while, Harry Truman had us. And now I think we have everybody.
I think we've gotten more than anybody, including Harry Truman, who was #1. But they will tell you we got none.
Those claims about what the Trump administration has done in terms of legislation, especially when compared to other administrations, aren't true, and they have driven historians to distraction. The Washington Post chose to go another way. They have looked at the Trump administration in a different method. Post journalist Philip Bump has compiled a list of things President Trump has undone. The list is lengthy. Bump asked all his followers on Twitter today to point out anything he'd forgotten. It runs the gamut from withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accords to banning transgender members of the military to removing a bike sharing station from the White House. Pulitzer Prize-winning national syndicated columnist Connie Schultz is with us from her hometown in Cleveland to talk about this. And the aforementioned author of What Trump Has Undone, Philip Bump, national correspondent for the Washington Post, is with us. There will be a quiz on the list. We're actually going to repeat it as we have our conversation. And we're, of course, anxious for people to go read the list in its organic form at the Washington Post. So, Philip, the same thing I'm going to ask Connie in a second. Yeah. Some people will look at your list as a list of things undone. Right. Others will look at it as a list of achievements by President Trump.
No, that's exactly right. And part of the feedback I've gotten is particularly that this is what people wanted to see Donald Trump do. Look, this is not an accident that all of these things happened, that all of these rules, regulations were overturned either by an act of Congress that Trump then signed into law, or by Trump acting unilaterally, or by people who run his departments. It's not an accident. Part of this is Donald Trump and his allies were specifically going to Washington to, in part, dismantle the federal government in this way, and this is the result. 7 months in.
Connie, you could put together a separate list of things turned on their ear in the last 7 months, and politicians, of course, traditionally run on pledges, what I'm going to do for you and not what I'm going to undo. How do you think this list will break in the state of Ohio?
Well, pretty much the way it's going to break across the country when you look at who's targeted. You know, we keep hearing so many people lament, why aren't the Republicans in Congress standing up more to Donald Trump? Well, this list is your reason why. This is the right-wing agenda. And look who's targeted. For example, people who are applying for unemployment for a system that they paid into will have to be drug tested. So you're talking about people who may have addiction issues who now are going to have to prove that they deserve the money they already paid into the system. Look at transgender students in high schools. Their protections will be got. Mandatory sentencing. Who is most vulnerable with mandatory sentencing? Let's see, people in poverty, people of color in America. I've done a lot of reporting over the years on people who are falsely incarcerated. They tend to be black, they're male, they have no money, no resources. So when you start looking at who's targeted, I think about all those populations exist in Ohio, just like they exist anywhere in the country. But this is exactly what they want, and this is why they're not standing up more, I think, publicly to denounce so many awful things, including his comments about Charlottesville.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.